You do not have to put up with internet trolls. My name is Sarah Monahan. I am a former child actor who sent their TV dad to prison. This is Teddy, my service dog. In case we've never met before, my name's Sarah. I was an actress on an Australian television show called Hey Dad. It was Australia's longest running, highest rating sitcom in history. And years ago in 2010, I did an article talking about how life on set wasn't always great because things aren't always good for children in television. My TV dad was a sex offender. He liked not just little girls, but big girls, basically any kind of girl. And it turned out I was not the only one that he was sexually harassing or assaulting. 5 of us went to court, but it turned out that there was 18 girls that the police knew about in the end that he had sexually assaulted. I've made other videos where I go into more detail about that, so if you're interested, go watch it. But this video is more about the fact that when I went public, I was inundated by trolls. This was before Me Too, it was before we had a royal commission in Australia. It was basically like 2010, like nobody had spoken up about sexual assault yet. And really, the entire world felt like they had something to say about it. And it wasn't all flattering. It took 4 years from when I first went public to when we went to court. And so in that 4 years, I was inundated with people who were saying that I was making it up, that I was doing all kinds of horrible things. And finally, the guy was found guilty. So people could no longer complain about that. We went through 2 different appeals processes, one of which means we are now case law in Australia. Go us. But eventually most people got the fact that because not only had I sent a very prominent actor to prison, but because after me, many other people spoke up. We since had an entire revolution in Australia where we had a royal commission, we've had Let Her Speak, we've had a Me Too in the US. People get it now that yes, children are sexually assaulted, women are sexually assaulted, and it's okay to speak about it. And I honestly, at one point, thought that speaking up meant that I was just fair game. Like, people were just allowed to harass me and be awful to me. I didn't think it was nice, but it felt like it was part of the territory. I had a blog, which people always sent things to, and I could easily see their IP addresses of the people sending harassment. And then I also had Facebook, because back then we had Facebook. And I had a private page that was just my friends, and then I had a public fan page, which was where many people who had liked me on the television show as an actress followed me, but then also a whole bunch of people who had also been through similar trauma or childhood sexual abuse or other things followed that page because I guess I was an inspiration and they wanted to be part of that, and they were a great community of people. It was lovely having at least one place where people were nice. So court is finished. I am writing a book. Things are going great. We moved from Texas to Florida, and I think finally I'm going to have some peace in my life and things are going to go well. And then this dickhead turns up on Facebook. And when I say dickhead, I mean cunt. This guy was awful. He started posting things under the name of the man that I had sent to prison. And he was sending completely inappropriate things, not just for me, but for the people on my page who could see it, who had also been through childhood trauma, and they didn't need to see this kind of stuff. So we did what normal people would do. We blocked him and banned him. And then each time he would make a new personality and he would post again. And we would contact Facebook and we'd be like, hey, there's a guy who is posting completely inappropriate comments and sometimes photographs that people should be arrested for. He was posting this stuff on there and Facebook doesn't care. Facebook gives no fucks about child exploitation material. So really, they weren't doing anything. All we could do was block and ban him each time he popped up again under a different name. Eventually, though, one of my friends who works in the government was like, you can notify the FBI of this guy. And we're like, wait, but he's just a troll. I've already contacted the Australian police and said, hey, there's this guy posting stuff. You should probably look into it. And they were like, we already did like a whole bunch of stuff and had one guy arrested for you. Like, we're not really feeling it right now. But this guy keeps popping up, and he is posting increasingly like worse and worse content. And this was around the time that in Australia they were saying that if somebody posts publicly on your page and posts something it's illegal, that you would get in trouble for it. And I'm like, how is someone posting to my Facebook page gonna get me in trouble? So I'm like up at all kinds of the night, like trying to make sure this guy isn't posting under a new identity and posting like child pornography on my Facebook account. And eventually I'm like, fuck this. Like, I've already been through court for one pedophile and sent a guy to jail. It's no longer on me that I have to put up with this shit. Like, I'm a fucking hero. I sent a person to jail. I don't have to deal with trolls on this level anymore. Like, I am done with this shit. I'm not putting up with it anymore. So finally, I'm just like, we're all just screen capturing everything that this guy posts. We're like trying to capture all the times and dates, all the different names. And eventually, I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to report this guy because I'm not dealing with it anymore. And so I went to the Internet Crime Complaint Center. It's the IC3. And the FBI does it. And you upload it. And you wonder if they're ever going to look at it. And they did. And then they contacted the Australian police, who were like, hey, like this guy, like we don't know what's going on. Maybe you should check his basement, but the stuff he is posting is clearly not okay. And so the police, the Australian police, looked into him, and it turns out he was not a good person. Turns out his name was Luke James Wallace, and he was already a sex offender in Melbourne. Shocking that one sex offender would be upset that someone sent a different sex offender to jail. But hey, maybe if he just kept his mouth shut and like wanked off in the basement like an ordinary person instead of getting on the internet to harass someone else who was just trying to help society, he wouldn't have been arrested. He didn't go to jail, but he did get a 3-month suspended sentence and 200 hours of community service. They actually got him on transmitting child pornography and using a communication service to menace me. So, I mean, that was a win. It was also lovely that they put, I mean, he's in a cap and glasses, so you can't really see him, but he's all over the internet now. Like, if you Google my name and troll, this guy shows up. But here's the thing, even if you're not like a former child star who sent someone to prison, if you're just a person who's getting harassing emails or threats on the internet, or people are sending you tweets, like if people are sending you, like I'm seeing all the time women who are saying men are sending me these things saying that they want to rape me, that they want to murder me, that they want to do harmful things to them. You don't have to tolerate that. It's not okay. Like just because we are women and men feel like they have some kind of thing where they're allowed to send us this shit, it does not make it okay. And even worse is when the pick-me girls, or like the women who've just been so brainwashed into thinking that like they're subservient, when they're like, oh, but he didn't mean it. Like that's just his way of flirting with you. Bitch, no. Don't tell yourself that that's okay. And don't think that it's okay for other women just because you tolerate it. And I love it when women like screen capture shit and put it back on social media, especially the same place where that guy is sending them things. So if like you're on Twitter and someone's sending you messages, screen capture it and send it back out. And if they are sending you truly threatening things, then absolutely contact the authorities. Don't just think that you can, deal with it or delete it. It just gets worse. The more it happens, the more it happens. Like eventually they just keep getting bolder and bolder, and like that's when shit turns from the internet into real life. But if you're being harassed online, it is no worse than being harassed in real life. So screenshot everything. Keep a file folder with everything in it. If you have access to IP addresses because they're sending it to your personal website, keep records of all of that. Keep records of everything. And if you feel like this person's like a genuine threat, then definitely report it to the authorities. Take all of that stuff that you've collated, and whether you just go to your local PD or you go to the FBI, which is completely within your rights, like, don't feel like it's not worth it or like they have better shit to do, because you don't know what else this person is doing. It might be like my guy, where he's a registered sex offender and like might be hurting small children somewhere. Go ahead, do the thing, report them. You absolutely deserve to live a happy, peaceful life, and you don't deserve any kind of hate from the internet unless you're a bad person. Just kidding. No, everybody deserves to live peacefully and happily, and if other people have problems that make them crazy and feel like they need to lash out, that's on them. It's not on you. You don't deserve it, so do not tolerate it. Thanks for coming to my talk today. Live happy.